There were so many crucial injuries that just happened in week 11, so now is the time we need to cement ourselves a playoff spot, and it is crucial that we get the waiver wire adds right this week out of any other week in the year. So make sure to stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to be giving you guys a list of players that we need to be adding to absolutely win weeks and win leagues for the rest of the year, as well as a list of players in the beginning of the video, very quick rapid fire of the guys that should already be added in your league. And you guys know I absolutely hate to waste people's time in these videos, so let's get it kicked off with the week 12 best waiver adds of the week. Number 1, Zach Charbonnet. Make sure this dude is not on your waivers. We all know the injury to Kenneth Walker just happened, and it is reported that this is a pretty serious or at least legit injury. Is he going to play this week? Probably not. It should be a couple week injury, but there's no way he's going to be out for the rest of the season. I would very much be surprised if he did. Either way, check if he's available. In negative running scripts, he is absolutely dominating and taking the snap share over Kenneth Walker. He's going to be the lead RB1 without him. This is exactly why we were stashing him and drafting him in the beginning of the year. The time is now. But the next guy you need to make sure is not on your waivers is Jaylen Warren. Again, a pretty obvious one, but some people, depending on your league size, he might not be available. I mean, this guy has been the most efficient running back in the league over the past 3 weeks, averaging just shy of 10 yards per carry, and he just had his best game of the season against the toughest run defense in the NFL against the Cleveland Browns. Very impressive. If the Steelers can get one thing right, they need to be giving him more touches. Is that going to happen? Maybe. Who knows? 50-50 shot. He should still be rostered in your league. But AJ Dillon, again, should be rostered as well. Aaron Jones went down with an undisclosed knee injury. He's waiting an MRI today, so at the time of this recording, it's not completely reported on what his injury is and how serious it is. Regardless, there's no way that he plays this Thursday night. With that being said, it puts AJ Dillon as the clear-cut RB1. Last time Aaron Jones got injured, they didn't really give him usage. He still split 50-50 with Patrick Taylor. Now, last time he gets a majority bulk of the usage, looks like an RB1. He could be and should be added. Again, Josh Downs should be added as well. He didn't have the best 2-game stretch, but he was dealing with a knee injury. He saw a tank in his usage percentage and his snap share. Nothing to worry about there. He just came off his bye week. He should be ready to go. Pick him up if he dropped. And the last guy, just to make sure that should already be rostered, is David Njoku. He's averaged 9 targets, just shy of 10 over the past 5 weeks. And Deshaun Watson being hurt and DTR, or really any other quarterback that is inexperienced in this case, is going to make his value exponentially increase. He saw a season high in 15 targets. That's not anything too out of the ordinary. 15's a lot. It's not going to continue. But with rookie young quarterbacks, they like to target their tight ends. He's going to continue to have a higher value than he did the rest of the season. But I saw him on waivers a couple weeks ago, so just make sure he's not available. But moving into the real sleepers, the guys that you should be adding that are not taken off your waiver wire, building off the Aaron Jones injury, is Ellis Merriweather. I'm sure a lot of us have not heard this name before, but depending on how serious the Aaron Jones injury, he could be viable in deeper, more competitive leagues. All the other running backs in this backfield are injured. Obviously, Aaron Jones, Emmanuel Wilson has been injured with a shoulder injury. It could be season ending, who knows, but that leaves AJ Dillon as the only guy. Someone has to be brought up from the practice squad to be an RB2. We know the Packers, they're not going to give him a complete workhorse role, so he's a good shot in the dark play that we can take. He will be the guy brought up to back up Aaron Jones. Is he going to have immediate value? Maybe. Depends on the injury. We're going to have to wait for more reports, but keep an eye on him just in case. Also, let's run to make a claim back for Tutu Atwell off the waiver wire. We were all dropping him once Cooper Kupp came back because inevitably he didn't really have much value with him healthy behind Puka. But now Cooper Kupp's been injured again. It looked somewhat serious. It's already reported to be a low ankle sprain. We have more information coming soon that we don't have at the time of this recording. But what we do know is that he's a 30-year-old wide receiver on a lackluster offense that's already coming off a pretty serious hamstring injury. For wide receivers in the NFL, once you get towards the 30s, it takes a little bit longer to recover from your injuries. It's just a big ball of inconsistency and unknown. Again, until we know the seriousness of this injury, we need to be going through and picking up Tutu regardless. Even if it's just a 1-week pickup short-term ad, you can still probably start him next week against the Cardinals, who allow the 5th most points to opposing wide receivers. Keep that in your mind. The hook I used in the beginning of this video really seems to ring true because another guy based on injury that we can't pick up is Odell Beckham. This isn't a guy that I've been super excited about for the entirety of the year. Again, we don't really have a choice. We got to pick him up now. Mark Andrews had an unfortunate season-ending injury. There's not much we can do about that except send our prayers. But for now, in fantasy football, this means target share from Lamar Jackson is going to be spread out just a little bit more. No one wide receiver or even receiving option that could be a running back anybody's going to get a super increased target volume. We've seen this before. All of the targets are just going to get spread across everybody in this offense. Odell will probably go from 4 to 5 targets to maybe 6, maybe 7. But he's still not seeing a whole bunch of field time. He hasn't had above a 50% snap share since week 6. He's been dealing with injuries. It's just a whole lot of inconsistency. But if he can stay healthy and find some way to stay on the field, he's going to be a good ad, especially with no Mark Andrews. Somebody's going to have to step up. And if anything, you could just pick him up and use him as trade bait before your trade deadline hits. But another guy, Isaiah Likely, we can go ahead and pick up similarly for this reason. He is going to be the tight end 1 now that Mark Andrews is out. We've seen before that he does have a bit of upside. Is he going to come in and instantly get Mark Andrews level targets? No, he's a backup. He's not Mark Andrews just because he's a tight end. But depending on how desperate you are at this position, position. He can definitely be a viable guy. I wouldn't go through and throw him in my starting lineup week 1 though. We can also go back to the well and add Jeff Wilson. Devon Achane, again, another injury. He has re-aggravated the same injury that kept him out for a really good amount of time. This is not a great sign. Again, we don't have the full report on how serious this injury is, but if it's the same injury that he re-aggravated, it is not smooth sailing. He easily could be out for another couple weeks, and in the worst case scenario, he lands back on IR. But either way, that puts Jeff Wilson back in the RB2/3 spot. I know Ahmed got all of the RB2 work behind Raheem Mostert, but that's because he was the only active RB. Jeff Wilson wasn't activated this week because they were supposed to have Mostert, Achane, and Ahmed, but he was really only activated for special teams reasons, not because they needed a third running back. Don't be too worried about him taking snaps. Jeff Wilson's going to be the actual RB when he comes back. But again, put a claim for him now, and as news comes out, you can change the waiver priority or the number of the fab you're spending. But some people are already losing faith in Pat Freiermuth. If he's on your waiver wire still, go pick him up, stash him. He is one of the best stash tight ends of the week. The reality of it is everybody's overreacting. He came back in his first game back from IR that he missed pretty much the entirety of the season with, and had 1 catch, 1 target. Not the best day, but at the same time, Kenny Pickett only had 100 yards on the day against one of the toughest matchups in the entirety of the NFL against the Browns defense. Everybody was struggling. Through 4 quarters of an entire game, this team barely had a full field length of yards. Better days are ahead. He gets a dream matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals this week coming up. Am I going to throw him in my starting lineup now? Probably not, but he has a great fantasy playoff schedule. It is an absolute cakewalk against the Bengals, Colts, and Seahawks. As the weeks go on and he gets healthier, he's going to be a viable guy. And we need to be adding Roschon Johnson if you are desperate for running back. Again, these injuries are absolutely killing us. The waiver wire is almost bare after all these guys that I'm listing off. Foreman left last week's matchup with an ankle injury. We don't know how serious it is again, but either way, there's probably a good chance that he doesn't play this week coming up. Khalil Herbert did get his first game back from IR, but looked absolutely inefficient. 16 carries, only 2 yards per carry. Bears are going to lean more on the run game as they have. They have one of the best run games in the NFL with Justin Fields as well, but he gets a majority of the receiving work out of the backfield. It's going to be a 60-40-ish split next week. He can't be a plug-and-play add for this week. But if Zay Jones is still on your waiver wire, this is a guy we need and should be going through and adding 100% of the time. He came back in his first game off being injured and saw a 63% team snap share. This is pretty good coming off injury, and he saw 4 targets on it. Now, is this amazing numbers? No, but the offense is looking better, and despite the Jaguars having 3 viable wide receivers, he still gets a decent amount of snap share and time on field to be viable. And he is a pretty involved part of this offense. In week 1, when he was not injured, he saw a 23% team target share. Then in week 2, when he only played about half of the snaps, he saw a 19% team target share. He also gets some good matchups against the Buccaneers and the Panthers in the playoffs, and that's likely when the Jaguars are still going to be fighting for a playoff spot, so they're going to be at full potential, full swing. They're going to need their guys to step up. He's still coming back to a full snap share. Yes, Calvin Ridley had an amazing game last week. Is that going to happen every single week? Probably not. We're not sure. He might be wide receiver 1 moving forward because he is better with Zay Jones in this offense, but at the same time, with Zay Jones in this offense, the entire team for some reason plays better and is more efficient. Take that for what you will. Add Zay Jones if he's not already taken off the waivers. The guaranteed list of quarterbacks and defenses we can stream off the waiver wire to get a good week out of. First one being Derek Carr. He gets a great matchup against the Falcons, who allow the 4th most points to opposing quarterbacks, all presuming that he's off concussion protocol this week, which he probably will be after their bye week. But the good news is they're coming off a bye week, and this game is being played in a dome. We don't have to worry about weather, wind, rain, anything. It's just a lot more positive of an environment for quarterbacks. You can also stream Baker Mayfield, who's coming off a pretty bad game against the 49ers defense, but it's the 49ers defense. You really can't do much about it. The good news is he still has an insanely high passing volume. He's been averaging just under 40 pass attempts a game since their bye week, and that's great for quarterbacks because more passing attempts equals more yards, more touchdowns, more everything. And instead of the 49ers defense, he gets the Colts defense, which is a lot more friendly to fantasy quarterback points. The Colts offense is one of the more fast-paced in the NFL, which means more offensive opportunities for both sides. And when you're the Bucs and you have a terrible secondary and they allow some of the most points over the air, you're gonna have to keep your passing volume high to keep up in these games. Baker Mayfield should again have another 40 passing attempt performance. So looking at the defenses we can stream, the first one is going to be the Patriots, who get a matchup against the Giants. I know they looked pretty good last week, but they played against the Commanders. You can't take anything any team does out of context against the Commanders. It's just not something that's going to be smart. The Giants still have one of the worst offenses in the NFL. In every single metric, they are bottom 3. DeVito got sacked almost 10 times last week. It's going to continue, maybe not that high. He's an inexperienced quarterback. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to get sacked, which means more points for for the Patriots defense, and it's not like they're a bunch of scrubs. They're a pretty decent defense on their own already. Giants allow the literal most points to opposing defenses this year, so it's really a no-brainer add. But if they're not available, you can go ahead and claim the Titans defense off the waiver wire. They get the Panthers, who are, first of all, one of the worst offenses in the NFL, bottom 3, but they're also a top 5 defense to points allowed to other defenses because they're just not good. Again, we have a really high probability of turnovers and sacks with how bad this team is. Finally, the last defense we can go ahead and add, and this is the best by far of the week, is the Miami Dolphins, who get a matchup against the Jets that allow the 6th most points to opposing defenses. And the Dolphins secondary with Jalen Ramsey have absolutely been putting it together as of late. They have been operating on a very, very high level. And when your defense is starting to click, your guys are healthy, you get a matchup against the Jets, who don't have Zach Wilson. He has been benched. They now have to face Tim Boyle, which arguably could be a worse option. It is going to be a great field day for the Dolphins defense. So that is going to finish off this video of the waiver wire ads you need to be making to guarantee a win this week in fantasy. If you don't have your post notifications on, make sure to turn them on now. It takes 2 seconds because you don't want to miss the video coming out tomorrow of the waiver wire traps we need to be avoiding. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video coming soon.